Now.
Welcome to Better Credit, Better Home, your source for the latest local and national news that can impact you if you are in the market for real estate. Here are your hosts, the Kingwood mortgage guy, Mike Durr, who uses his 25 years as a mortgage professional to help people improve their credit, and Joe Salas, an accomplished home inspector, real estate agent, and trainer of new agents for Byrd Property International. Together, they will help you understand what you need to know to get the most out of your real estate investment. Let's get started.
Let's get started.
Let's do it, man. How you been?
I'm good, man. You stepped right in the door right as the door was closing.
Oh, bless. I was trying to get off a call. I was like, no, man, you don't understand. I got to go.
No, I get that. I turned mine off about 10 minutes before because I know somebody's going to get on there and I'm going to be talking to them for a long time.
Yep.
Joe, good to see you, man. What's going on this week?
Busy. I love it. It. Everything's, the bees are buzzing, the birds are chirping, and I'm making money. You can't complain.
There you go. That's a good thing. Yeah, I'm actively chasing down all kinds of craziness going on out here. And I some of that is going to flow over into the show. A couple things that I've was thinking about doing kind of got erupted into what I'm going to talk about. And I think, it could be interesting for some people. A little different than our first-time home buyer thing. This one's not necessarily for first-time home buyers. It's for doing something with self-employed borrowers. And then I'm also going to be talking about Texas cash out refinance, and mainly because of there's some people out there that are hurting that this might be an answer based. I think a lot of people think that the worst time to do a cash out refinance is at this time because they're giving up a lower rate. But the truth is there's some people that need to. And the benefits of that could be pretty solid. So what we'll do is we'll just get started. Tim told me he was so busy writing up reports necessary for today that he couldn't make it. So we'll do without him. And so I changed up the slides on the front of this thing, and I just put, do you need some cash? Now, I know you don't need any cash. You've got all the cash you need. But there are some people out there that could stand some cash. So see if we can find it. But
I'll take more.
You take more? All right. So I'm going to start off with the humor part. And I was reading a little story. I thought it was kind of fun. There were these clients that were they were looking for an investment property, probably to VRBO it or not VR, Verbo it or Airbnb it. And so they were going to different towns and working with different agents. This is one of the agents telling a story. A week later, my clients were finishing up a tour with an agent in Laguna Beach, California, who frankly didn't show them anything that matched their needs. Maybe in an attempt to redeem himself, he said he had driven by an open house earlier that would be a good fit for them. So they arrived at the open house and it was jam-packed. The couple swooned over the house's architecture, the layout, the upgrades. They had never seen an open house with such decadent catering and elegant dressed buyers. They give their thumbs up. Good job. This might be the one. As they are piling caviar into their plates and sipping champagne, a woman who presumably was the listing agent all of a sudden approaches them and they gush, "This is a lovely home. Please tell the seller we are very impressed." To which she responds, "Who are you?" "We're here for the open house," explained the couple. "This is indeed an open house for my friends and family," said the listing agent, or the owner. "I am the new owner," and embarrassed beyond belief, they put down their plates and slithered out.
Is that a true story?
Yeah. I mean, I read a lot of them, and I got this is kind of funny one too, and this has just happened today, where the agent was showing a very nice house, and the couple had their 10-year-old little boy with them, and the 10-year-old little boy was full of energy, and so he got into this. It was a $600,000 home. He immediately disappeared, running and scampering back, and he ended up back in the what do you call it? The primary bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he comes running out and he says, that thing on the toilet that's supposed to squirt, it didn't work. And they went, what are you talking about? And they looked at each other and I went, oh no, the bidet. And he said, yeah, it doesn't work. And they went, well, did you use it? And he goes, oh yeah, but it didn't work. And I just thought to myself, that is not a good start on that house. That is a real story. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk a little bit about housing prices. We're going to talk about interest rates, self-employed qualifying options. This is something that's going on right now. I'm seeing a lot of it. Consumer debt increasing, the scoop on cash out refi, and 3 questions all buyers ask. And is this a good time to buy? So let's rock and roll. All right, house prices. This is, I think, an interesting slide because it's kind of, I kind of like this, Joe, because this is kind of the stuff we were talking about. But if you look in the slide to, I guess, your left. Yeah, if you're looking at this, I think it's on your left.
Okay.
Right? That's the one with most of the red and then the starting of the green.
Yeah.
So this is the traffic steadily climbing. So this is showing traffic. They measure this stuff, and it slowly went down in the last part of the year. I think December was the last red, and then January, February, and March, it has picked up. Now, the one thing I note on here is that on the left-hand side, March of 2022, it was substantially higher, and it's March this year, it's substantially higher than in January and February, not as high as March last year. It's not going to be, but the fact that it is getting better is a good sign that things are, the real estate market, there are people out there looking. That's a good news, and we both noticed that. The chart on the right side is CoreLogic price momentum rebounding, and this is kind of the same thing only looked at from a different eye. Is that where demarcation line between the green and the red is July of 2022. And then if you see August, September, October, November, December,
January. Yeah.
January. So what happens is that there were showing declines in price through that period. That's the period that everybody was crying about there being a crash.
Yeah.
But you look
the
up.
Sky is falling.
Yeah. You look in February and March, and guess what? There's not a crash. As a matter of fact, the home prices are starting to increase again. And kind of what we were talking about, this is going to be a pretty normal selling season. It's going to be a little tampered down from what it was last year. There's no doubt about that. But there are people out there that need to buy a house, and their rates are, well, I keep saying this. It's been there in between this last couple of weeks because they get stuck. They dip a little bit and then they come back. But we're operating around 6.5%, which is still a marketplace where people are still willing to buy.
Yeah, there are buyers out there for sure.
That's I think I like that chart. Let me move this. Okay. So check this out. You've heard me talk about this house before, have you not? Do you know what the house this is?
That's your first house, right?
That's my first house. That's right. Yeah. It just got listed. Well, listed I guess about a month ago. But I think since you guys now have access to multiple listing thing, I was able to pull this up. And I've talked about it being 10 times, but it's actually about 11 times more expensive. And my note there is I bought this house for $37,500. Want to know how I did it?
You bought it
40 years ago.
80 years ago when you were 20 years old.
There's a point there, though. And I didn't include the slide, but I've got a slide that's got 80 years of appreciation.
That's crazy.
And of those 80 years, 71 years, there was positive appreciation. 1 year, there was no appreciation. And then I think 7 or 8 years, there was negative appreciation. But I'm thinking that that's probably about an 89% chance that if you buy a house and you do it wisely, that you're going to do pretty good.
Yeah. The wisely thing is what I think we get to when we start talking about the better homes is you have to have an informed realtor, and you need to have it inspected. That's what we get
there's
on
no
all the
doubt.
time.
No doubt. And the worst possible thing you can do is buy a home that's not a good home and that's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yep.
And I can tell you that from firsthand knowledge. I did that, and it didn't go well for me. But that I tried to pull that house because that was insanity. That was the home I bought after this one, and it just got sold, but it wasn't listed. And it would have been interesting because that's a whole different story, and that's part of some of the wounds you get when you deal with real estate. But I thought this was kind of cool. I actually looked at, they did update the kitchen and some stuff, but anyway, this kind of brings back a little nice memory.
It's awesome to see, man. At least it's still there. Some of the houses I lived in College Station when I was in college aren't there anymore. It's crazy.
They just cleared them.
They cleared them down. They
built somebody else.
Yeah, duplexes.
So here's a look at rates today, and actually the right-hand side is the months. If you look down at the bottom, you can see all the way through May of 2023. So it's pretty up-to-date chart. Now, I was told by the guy that I follow, Barry Habib, that when you have trends, that the longer trim outweighs or usually wins the long-term thing.
Yeah.
So in this case, we've got a short-term trend and a long-term trend. The longer-term trend is obviously way up. When you start back in January of 21, when rates were at the 3% level, see, they were there. And in January of 22, that's when they just meteoric rise, and then they held back, and then they went again. They're not as high as they've been. They're putzing around at 6.5 in that range. The last two loans I've closed were at 5.99, and that's what I want to be. I want to be there, and that's what I'm trying to get all our customers to. But these keep fighting me. The darn Fed and all the kind of nonsense that they do. But I thought that was a very good look at the fast action on how fast they've risen. There is some demarcations in the lines, Freddie and MBA. There's a few different ones, but the bottom line is that this is where we're at. We hope to be moving that trend onto this top one here over the course of at least the rest of the summer. That's what I expect. All right, self-employed qualifying options. Well, it just so happens I'm doing a loan with a self-employed electrician. I'm doing a loan with a self-employed truck driver. And I've been doing this a long time, and the rules change a little bit. But the first thing I put on here is must be 2 years self-employed. Now, in most cases, people that are self-employed and been doing their business for a long time, that's not an issue. And if they are less than 2 years, it's usually a situation where they transitioned from a similar job where they were a wage earner or a W-2 employee and then moved over to the 1099 thing. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. I've got a truck driver who he worked with this company for 14, 15 years. And just last June, he went 1099, bought his own truck, and he's making a ton of money. He's making double what he was making before. The problem is that the underwriters will look at somebody that's been employed for less than 2 years, but unless they have a full 1 year tax return in that line of business, not in that line, but in self-employed 1 year, so they have to have a full tax return, they won't look at it.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to have 2 years of tax returns. That helps. But if you have 1 full year of tax returns as a self-employed person, they'll look at it. Tax returns are used to calculate your income. And the way they do it, they use the profit on your Schedule C in most cases. And then they also add back in any depreciation and any depletion. Now, don't ask me what depletion is. I can't really.
Don't ask me either.
I just know where to find it on the tax return. Depreciation is obvious, particularly when you have truck or a vehicle, they depreciate pretty good. Last 2 years are added together, assuming that the current year's profit is higher than the previous. So that means if your sales or profit has gone up, they will average it. But if your profit has gone down, the best you're going to get is the worst of that. So if you have a great year in 21 and then in 22 you have a lesser year, they'll use the income from 22, and they really scrutinize it too. They don't want it to be more than, I think the number is like, it can't be more than 10 or 15% off from the previous year for them to even consider it. But there are a lot of self-employed people out there, and they're just underserved right now. We obviously do bank statement programs. I didn't take the time to explain how a bank statement program works, but they basically throw out you don't have to put tax returns in there. You just get either 12 or 24 bank statements. And what they look at is they look at your deposits that you've deposited over the course of that time. If you have 24, you get better rates than if you just use 12.
Yeah.
And they don't, it's not conventional oriented. It's a non-QM. Rates are a little higher.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Usually the rates are a little higher on those, aren't they?
But they're not bad. And particularly for somebody like the trucker that I was working with, it wouldn't have really mattered too much for him, because I'm convinced that we're going to be refinancing in a year anyway with rates. What I hope happens, either lower 5s or high 4s. That's where I think they're going. So for you self-employed guys, call me. I think, if we can't do it, nobody can. But we'll do everything we can to look at all the angles. All right, here's one that just hit the news today. Consumer debt surpasses $17 billion, and that's higher than it's been, obviously, particularly since consumer debt went up pretty big during the when we had the plague, when COVID was out there. But then when they started giving the award checks, the savings went up and the debt went down. Well, total debt is back up again. And the interesting thing about this chart is that the yellow is mortgage debt. The home equity or revolving debt is that little slice of purple there in between the yellow and the green. The auto loan is the green. Yeah, that's right. Credit card is the blue, and the red is the student loan. The student loans are just out of control. I mean, they've really, nobody's paying on them right now because of the potential forgiveness factor. You'd feel like an idiot if you'd made a payment or paid off some student loan debt and then they forgive the debt. Well, I'm pretty sure that that's not going to happen. But I mean, in this world we live in, who the heck knows? The point is that as the Fed has raised interest rates, credit card rates average now 20%. And I bet you there's a lot of people that don't believe that. Actually, there are credit cards out there with 30%
plus.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And I mean, that's the equivalent of borrowing money from a loan shark. I mean, that's going to break your arm if you don't pay it.
It's crazy.
And one of the things that they're starting to realize, or people are starting to realize, is that particularly the fact that some people are losing their jobs, the economy's slowing down, we're getting towards that closer to them actually calling it a recession, that there are options for you. But I mean, a lot of people are hurting. Mortgage rates are trending down, but that doesn't help us right now. Used car rates are up. Average car payment, I looked this up. I'd said $800. According to my research, it's $700 monthly. So talk about pikers. I mean, that's nothing for Joe anyway.
There you go. Yep.
Credit card balances are up, and credit card debt is dangerous because those guys are ruthless. And I don't know if anybody has actually ever read a credit card disclaimer or the disclosure that they give you. It's usually about 2 pages long and legal page. It's written in very small print, and I've read it, and it basically says that they can raise your interest rate for any reason or at any time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you were discerning, you wouldn't do that, right? Well, we've all done it. I mean, everybody probably carries credit cards, and hopefully they were discerned. But there is that takes me to the next group. When consumer debt is going up, you've got a Texas cash out refinance. Now, Texas is probably one of the worst states to get a cash out, just because we have very strict rules. Now, the rules are consumer friendly, but they're not lender friendly. The way it works is you can get 80% maximum loan to value. In just about every other state, you can get 95. In some places, 100%. You can use the money for anything you want. That's good news. You can consolidate debt. You can rehab or rehabilitate your house, pay student loans off. What other kind of things would you do with cash from your house?
Oh, Lord. Purchase another property.
Well, there you go. Yeah, invest in another property. I actually have had somebody do that. Yep. And when you're using the money in a proper way, that's a good thing. The thing I'm talking about today, though, is the consolidation, and I want to just kind of clear it up to give you some ideas. Now, what I did is, when you're consolidating a loan, you're not really paying off debt. You're transferring one debt from one vehicle or from multiple vehicles to a more stable vehicle. And in my example here, I put a scenario, and this is totally fictitious. But on a home loan, you owe $225,000 and the payment's $1,700. Now that $1,700 includes the tax and insurance escrows. So the payment's actually about $1,200 based on a 3% interest rate. On auto 1, you owe about $28,000. On auto 2, you owe about $20,000. Those payments are $560 and $490. On credit card 1, you owe $10,000. On credit card 2, you owe $7,000. Credit card 3, you owe $5,000. And the total debt is $295,000. If you add the payments up, the total payments are $3,475. Now, that's a $300,000 loan amount. So what I expected is that this could have been somebody that bought their house in 2018 or 19. They had the 40% increase in their appreciation. They now have a $400,000 house, and they can easily do a $300,000. That's a 75% loan to value. Their payment on that is $2,021.16. So they pay off their home, they go and pay down all of their debt, and they've just broke out $1,453.84 every month, even though the interest rate on the new loan is right at 7 1/8. Okay, and if you had an additional $1,453.84, there's a lot you can do with that. One of them is you can pay the debt down faster, and you can double up on your mortgage payments and get that thing paid off fast. You can put it towards principal. You can save money in a 401k. Probably more important than anything is you can relax a little bit. So This is not for everybody. This is not for somebody that doesn't have a problem with debt. But if you're stressing over the amount of money, it could be somebody got injured, that you don't have the employment that you had before. This is for those people at this time. Now, if you have a 3% mortgage debt, I would cling to that and love on it and not get rid of it. But just be aware that when you do a consolidation, you're just using one vehicle or another one to help yourself. And I'm inclined to believe that if you had $1,400 or $1,500 extra a month, that can make a big difference for some people. Yeah. Just what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. All right, so debt consolidation, current average credit card debt's around 20%. Mortgage, I did this. This is the same thing. Let's see. This side, would it be better to have one debt where the payment is $1,000 less than your current debt load? What if that debt had a lower rate than all the other debts with the exception of your home loan? So you're really, you're getting rid of the 20% credit card. I tell you, the credit card thing, it's bad news. Yeah. All right, so we shift gears. I'm just kind of finishing up here. These are 3 of the most asked questions. How much will it qualify for? What will the mortgage payment be? How much money will I need for down payment closing costs? So before I go too far, if you were thinking about doing a debt consolidation or a cash out refi, one of the things you might want to do is call Joe to see what your house is worth.
You're the man. Thanks, Mike.
Well, it's right. I mean, you don't do that and not know approximately what the appraisal is going to come in for. So That is, I think, an important thing. Now, when I'm dealing with first-time home buyers, these are the questions they have. They're not too different, though, when you're dealing with people that are doing a cash-out refi. It's because they've got to know what the value of their property is. They want to see what the mortgage is going to be. You have to work through the debt and see which debts are necessary to pay off. Sometimes you may need to pay debt to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, one of the things that we do is we do what we call as a detailed mortgage estimate. This is kind of the form I use. We talk about the closing cost on the left side. We talk about your escrow account. We never want to forget that because a lot of people do. We talk about what your payment's going to be, and we talk about how much cash you're going to need or how much cash you get at closing. So it's really important. We think that's a big deal. So it's a good time to buy a home. Well, 40 years ago, I'm not sure it was a good time to buy when I bought that house in Chevy Chase in San Antonio. But it's a lot better to have bought it then than it is now. And that's the thing that I love is it a good time to buy? Yeah. I mean, house pricing, particularly if you use a good realtor to guide you, you will most likely, can't say you guarantee, but most likely make money in an environment, particularly when there's a shortage of houses.
Oh, man. I read an article yesterday. It was talking about usually the turnaround in houses, 7 years on average to 10 years. And there are some instances where sellers want to sell a little earlier than that 7 to 10 years. But what's causing them to second guess that desire is the interest rates. They want to hold on to their 3%, 4% interest rates.
I mean, there's a whole block. I'd say it's a third of the housing inventory is being held up. And it just is adding fuel to the fire of there not being enough inventory.
Yep.
And I think when you get down into the lower fives, maybe even the high fours, then it'll loosen up. But I get it. I mean, I have a 2.5% interest rate, and I don't want to. I have no. It'd have to be a pretty special house for me to move. So, inventory of homes are still limited. Home appreciation seems to be revving back up. People from all over the U.S. are moving to Texas. We love Texas. We love people moving here. Well, not everybody. What other investment can you live in? What other investment can you improve? Those are my finishing thoughts. I think that's the end of my slides. It is. Joe, what should we finish and tell people to make sure that they do the right thing?
Call you, first of all. That's a very important conversation. Understand what their position is, what they can afford monthly. And then once they finish their conversation with you, call me and let me help you find the right home for you.
That's a good suggestion. Well, Joe, I always appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you,
buddy.
And I appreciate the leads you're sending my way. That's a very sincere thanks for those.
Hey, man, anytime.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. All right.
See ya.
Thank you guys for watching. Listen, I would love for you to subscribe. If you want to reach out to us, we've got Joe's number. I didn't have my streamer on today, but I did have his. I'm going to switch back to a slide that's got Joe's number on it, just so you know. Oh, I had my name on all of them. No, I didn't. Did I?
I saw my name on a couple.
What the heck?
All they have to do is Google "Sell Joe House." That's all they need to do.
There you go.
They'll find all my contact information. Sell Joe House.
I know I put you on there. All right. Well, you got Joe's number and looking up in Better Home, Better Credit, Better Home. And we're here next week, Tuesday at 5:00. All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right. Bye.